I began more than 25 years ago working in organizations in manufacturing, high-tech electronics, financial services, business services, almost all global organizations, and working with them to find ways to improve processes and to improve the leveraging of technology. And over the course of that, those many years in industry, one of the things that became very clear to me is that making big change happen quickly is a very important skill set for organizations to have. And most enterprises are not necessarily very good at it. So 4 years ago, I left Xerox to become the CEO of Gregory North, a company that's focused on helping drive positive change quickly in organizations all around the world. And of course, one of the most important changes we're all experiencing right now is the revolution in the ability to leverage data and to take that data and produce new outcomes, insights, solutions that have not been available to us before, the digital transformation revolution. So a major part of what Gregory North does is help organizations determine what their strategy should be to successfully surf this revolutionary new wave in enterprises across the globe. Late 80s, early 90s, when I was helping organizations put in place the practices like Six Sigma and Lean, it became very, very clear that having the right data was critical to producing the best insights. And that to some extent, if we had a flashlight that only allowed us to see in one part of the process room that we were examining, we would miss some very big things. We'd miss the big picture. We needed to open up the throw of that torch or flashlight and be able to illuminate the entire process end to end that we were observing. And to a very great extent, the data space that we were able to carve out defined the breadth of insights we were able to produce. So having data that was sufficient to help us analyze the problem and find the opportunity was essential. And over the years, in different aspects, the criticality of data again became very, very clear to me. When I was leading a global program to implement SAP, the enterprise software package that helps companies operate their businesses, it was very clear that the software worked, but the data from old systems that we were migrating from legacy databases into the new SAP business package was in fact going to be the Achilles heel of the entire program. If the data wasn't right coming in, the business processes wouldn't be executed effectively in the system. So again, having the right data to start with and in good order was critical for us to be successful. As you rotate forward into the 21st century, we're seeing the same rules apply. That is, businesses start to look at the potential of leveraging machine learning, leveraging natural language processing. One of the things that quickly becomes clear to them is they don't have the right data, or if they had the right data, they don't have it in such a order or managed effectively that allows them to readily access it. So this passion, as you can see, goes way back with me in the early days of helping companies think about how to improve process. And now the process of getting data strategies in place is a critical success factor for companies in the digital age. It is a very, very significant challenge that we have worldwide to understand how to remove biases from data. And a variety of different schemes come to mind. First of all, you could say, I want diversity in the people involved in helping me to craft the data sets that I'm looking at, diversity involved in the people who are helping me select and train the algorithms that are being used, diversity in the business or public sector or leaders who are taking that information and deciding how it's used and really pressure testing it to ensure that the diversity is sufficient and biases have been removed. But let's be very clear. Recent studies have already shown that even if you take all the humans out of the loop and simply put unsupervised learning algorithms out there to start combing through the internet and attempting to do things like autocomplete images in order for them to be able to take those images and use them in different ways, one of the first things we find is the internet is filled with bias. That the starting point for these massive data sets that are often used to train algorithms is in itself lacking insufficient diversity of perspectives and inherently possessing biases that need to be examined. So we actually need to be very sophisticated in how we think about this. And I would like to suggest that diversity as a foundational ethical principle is going to be critical for the successful application of AI capabilities going forward. It's an ancient expression, physicians heal thyself. So if we in fact have a challenge that our initial data sets might be biased, and we have to think about how we then filter and or remove that. And if we think about the challenge of having people who are crowdsourcing information, people who are labeling information, people who are tuning the algorithms, that they in fact could be part of the challenge here, then while we simultaneously should have human resource policies to have as diverse workforce as possible, diverse a team of data scientists, analysts, business leaders who are using that business intelligence to create new predictive analytics. While we work on that human side of it, we also have the opportunity to leverage strategies on the machine learning side to actually design algorithms and create what amounts to a series of filtered insights designed to systematically examine bias and remove it from data, so that we create data sets which allow us to, if you will, paint a picture of a future state that we're trying to achieve with new insights that are not influenced by past, if you will, transgressions and biases inherent in human experience and nature. But that in itself presents a new ethical challenge, because the more free rein we give to the algorithms to write their own future design, the more we have to comprehend how that works in order for that to reflect our values as a culture. Well, in the digital age, we have to simply breathe in the truth that all things are now digital, that we are swimming in a digital sea, that we are breathing as businesses, as organizations, data in and breathing data out. And therefore, to think of ourselves the way we did in the 20th century, where companies, enterprises, organizations tended to use mechanical models for imagining how they were constructed. There were buildings and there were factories and there were machines. Now, the buildings are, if you will, the ecosystem of data in which all enterprises are operating. And the machines are actually software machines capable of intelligence, machine intelligence, machine vision, natural language processing. And the decisions that we have to make here are how we are going to reimagine the enterprise in the digital age. It's not enough to simply take advantage of tweaks we can make here to our processes, or we want to launch a project to generate one new insight. At the senior executive level, leaders need to step back and say, is my business model in the 21st century going to be the same as it was in the 20th century? What new ways of working open up here with a digital workforce that can operate 24/7 at superhuman speeds of data processing and analysis that never existed before? With the spread of the Internet of Things, how can I leverage the massive amount of data that's coming in every day when devices like, for example, an Alexa, a Siri, or a Google Home is constantly feeding information into us that can help us understand patterns of behavior, that can help us understand what people are doing and why. And as that information comes in, how can we as leaders take advantage of that? What is the infrastructure we need, both human systems and software infrastructure, to available to operate at the speed of the digital age? Now, these are fundamental strategic shifts that companies have to make in order to be successful going forward. And they have to also understand the potential for digital disruption. If they don't make those shifts, if they don't open the aperture and dream big and reimagine the way they operate, then they are going to be at risk of not being around in 2025. If we look at the percentage of processes that are being automated, as we move up the digital ladder from basic task automation to ones that require more human judgment, this also affects we as individuals, where the whole workforce is being reconceived in terms of the balance of human and digital labor. So whether it's the leader of a business or it's the individual operating within that organization, we need to be very, very clear. The future is going to be very different than our past. And we have to be excited about that and get on top of that digital wave and surf it to new opportunities, as opposed to being on the back foot and then, if you will, being overtaken by it. The first one is not fully understanding the journey they're going to have to embark on to be successful. They're going to have to think about this as a change to the way they think and operate, and they're going to have to invest in order to make that happen. They're going to need to understand what they need to do with the data they have. They're going to need to find data they don't have and source it appropriately. They'll need to create data management practices, policies, systems, governance that allows them to be able to leverage this data successfully going forward. As I said a moment ago, they're going to need to have the type of systems infrastructure and capability that allows them to be fast sensors, fast processors. Now, the good news is the cloud gives us tremendous ability here to store massive amounts of data and access it very quickly. And there are also more and more tools that are available to help us store, manage, assess, analyze, and provide insights from data. And some of the largest organizations in the world, Google and others, are providing, Amazon, services that allow us to be able to rapidly access either web services they provide or third-party products that integrate effectively. But all of those kind of decisions of putting together what I would call the data infrastructure and the AI architecture that they're going to use going forward, these are new focus areas for business leaders to start working on early and understand it's going to be, as I said a moment ago, a journey they're going to have to embark on to get there. Not dissimilar from when the computer age began and companies started investing in, large mainframe computers and said, okay, now how is this going to change our business? They had to really think through that planfully and then systematically apply that computing power in the business where it made the most sense. And that leads to the second point I'd like to make. Beyond having a data strategy, they need to have a business strategy to use data. So if you're not sure what you're trying to achieve, if you simply say, hey, AI is cool, I'd like to do some AI, I think I'll hire some data scientists, and you don't necessarily know what the problem is you're trying to solve, then you've really missed the point. Because we're not trying to do data science for the pure joy of doing data science, although that is true. We're trying to leverage it on behalf of some organization objective. So whether you're some large global nonprofit trying to find ways to get emergency material to disaster zones faster, or whether you're a for-profit organization trying to understand more about consumer behavior so that you can optimize your offerings for them and deliver them where and when they're needed to make sure that your supply chain is as lean and profitable as possible. Regardless of what the business case is, if you're going to be applying the power of data to create new insights and to provide new solutions, you need to start with a really good problem worth solving. We love, as engineers, as scientists, as process improvement leaders, to think about how to solve a problem. What we need is really great problems to solve. And the aperture should be opened up not just by solving problems that exist in the current state, but by looking for opportunities that could be open to us in the future state if we leveraged the power of machine learning to its fullest. One of the most interesting trends that I saw last year at several AI conferences, actually, when I say last year, I have to go back 2 years to 2019 because there haven't been many in-person conferences in 2020, that's for sure. But in 2019, as you went from booth to booth at major AI-related conferences around the world, one of the things you really began to see was the rise of a whole industry around the data. And it may have been that 3 or 4 or 5 years before, the focus was really on things like, what can AI do? It was about creating a lot of enthusiasm for the potential of AI solutions, whether it's natural language processing fueling chatbots, or whether it's the ability of predictive analytics to radically improve our insights around consumer behaviors, or whether it's the ability of algorithms to optimize supply chains. All of these use cases became very well known and people were excited about using them. But over the last couple of years, we've seen the rise of organizations that have put their entire business model around helping people get data in good shape. They're providing resources to find data, to crowdsource it, to label it. They're providing insights around how to manage it. They're creating infrastructure that allows people to quickly access it. They allow themselves through rapid integration like APIs to be able to be rapidly integrated with existing infrastructure in a company's legacy environment. So the rise of this data management, data access, if you will, industry creates a tremendous opportunity for companies to rapidly bootstrap their existing AI systems infrastructure and architecture and move very, very quickly. Another very key trend is the rise in organizations that are providing data science on demand. So we know that this is a very, very important skill set to have, and not everybody has a PhD in data science. And so how do you get the right people in place quickly in order to meet the rapidly rising demand around the entire world for this capability? And part of it is you have to find ways to source and grow and then access on demand that capability. So we're seeing the rise of organizations that do that their entire business model is around, we're going to help actually build talent worldwide by having training, certification programs go on in really countries around the world, and then rapidly source that talent and apply it against challenges that businesses have in growing their machine learning centers of excellence. And we also see within companies the desire to start to figure out how to organize for success in their departments. Where does this sit? Where does the data science, data architecture function go? And then how does it grow in a smart way that takes advantage both of this outsourced capability as well as in-source talent? So I would see those two very important pillars of making data work going forward for us: having the right data capabilities and having the right people who know how to use it. In the upcoming Data Science Foundation conference, there's so much we have to learn from each other. I'm looking forward to the excellent speakers that are available over the course of the days of the conference, and also the opportunity, since it's virtual, to be able to interact maybe even real time with many of the conference participants. And for those out there who are getting ready for the conference and you have questions or ideas that you'd like me to look at when we get to the conference itself, feel free to drop me a note at gregory.north@globenorth.com, and we'll make sure that we try to take advantage of the insights and questions you have when we're speaking to the group there. I also would like to point out that one of the things that's really exciting about what Globe North does is it really helps drive global conversations around digital transformation. And in fact, we have a webinar series for leaders that you can find out by going to www.globenorth.com and find out what the next ones upcoming will be, with topics including topics around AI applications and challenges in putting data in good order, and also what does it mean to have smart process automation. I'm a speaker at the conference. I'm also going to be a participant. I have a lot to learn from all the August members who are other speakers, and also interacting with the folks who attend worldwide. I think it's going to be great just to hear what people are talking about and have to say. And what I'm going to be focused on is how to realize the possibility of reimagining your organization through digital transformation. And if you do, in fact, think big and dream big, what are then the concrete steps you have to take to prepare to make that dream a reality? So that what we don't do is undershoot the opportunity that's presented by the data revolution, but we don't misunderstand the requirements to seize that opportunity. It's really exciting to me to combine the possibilities of AI with the practicalities of making it work for us.